Normalcy, normalcy, normalcy. I've been saying this over again. I think it's the central theme right now, the closing message, if you will, of this election season. I got to go back to this post that Connor Haffen made on January 9th, 2021. I just think it's prophetic. He goes, I think the biggest problem with Republicans in the suburbs right now and probably going forward is that the suburban voters hate weird S word. And things on the Republican side of the aisle because of Trump have gotten especially effing weird. This evening of this recording, Donald Trump gave a speech, and his closing message to the American people for him and all of the MAGA candidates like Eric Hovde in Wisconsin, who Donald Trump supports, is another MAGA candidate, is that America is a garbage can, a garbage can. That's their closing message. Here, play this clip.
A lot of people coming out of the Congo, not just South America, they're coming from 181 countries as of yesterday. Right, and we're a dumping ground. We're like a garbage can for the world. That's what's happened. That's what's happened to we're like a garbage can. You know, it's the first time I've ever said that. And every time I come up and talk about what they've done to a country, I get angrier and angrier. First time I've ever said garbage can, but you know what? It's a very accurate description.
Let's bring in Democratic Senator of Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin. Senator Baldwin, you hear Donald Trump's remarks right there. You're running against someone, a MAGA Republican by the name of Eric Hovde, not even really from the state. He's from where I live in California. He's trying to buy this seat. He put in $20 million of his own money. Mitch McConnell recently put in $23 million. If you add in the aggregate, the MAGAs are trying to spend $100 million to bring Trump American carnage and weirdness to Wisconsin. What are you telling the voters out there?
Yeah, well, first on Trump, I mean, do you remember this summer when he called Milwaukee a disaster and then realized that in just a couple of weeks they were having the Republican National Convention there, and then he was trying to make up? I mean, it's crazy. Really, it's crazy. But on Eric Hovde, look, he's a multimillionaire. He's put in $20 million of his own wealth so far. His brother apparently is a multimillionaire also, because his brother formed a super PAC to support Eric Hovde. And then, just with weeks left to go, with the race tightening, because remember, we're a battleground state. Our statewide races are always super tight. Mitch McConnell announced that his super PAC was going to spend $23.6 million all on attack ads. In fact, one of the things that's so puzzling to me is there's not one ad up that I know of in any media market in Wisconsin that is saying anything positive about Eric Hovde and what he would do if he were elected Senate. It's all attack ads. But you know what? I still have hope. I still have a lot of hope, because we have a people-powered campaign. And we're doing our best to keep up with spending so we don't have an outsized disadvantage in the media in the last 2 weeks of the race. But people are going out, knocking doors, calling people, and I see that coming. And if anybody who's watching wants to help us out, go to TammyBaldwin.com, pitch in whatever you can to help us sprint through that finish line.
You know, look, Wisconsin's a state that doesn't like empty rhetoric. And the reason that you've represented the state so well for so many years in different positions is you roll your sleeves up and you get things done. And these smart people of Wisconsin like people who care about the details of things, and they expect the people who work for them to know things at detail. Eric Hovde doesn't even know the most basic things about the state. He did the Farm Bill, arguably one of the most important things in the state. He didn't even know what it is. He didn't even know what's in it. And when he was asked about it in debate, let me show you what he said. Here, play this clip.
Well, I'm not an expert on the Farm Bill because I'm not in the U.S. Senate at this point in time, so I can't opine specifically on all aspects of that Farm Bill.
Ridiculous.
I know. I can opine on specific provisions of the Farm Bill. I mean, this was an incredible moment. Wisconsin is America's dairyland. We even put that on our license plates. And the idea that you wouldn't know about basic farm policy is outrageous if you're presenting yourself as a candidate for U.S. Senate in a state like Wisconsin. But I want to share that this year, I won the endorsement of the Wisconsin Farm Bureau. It's the first time in nearly 20 years that a statewide Democrat has gotten that endorsement. And that is in recognition of all that I've done to help rural Wisconsin, the agricultural industry, and dairy in particular, like my Dairy Business Innovation Act that provides small grants to hundreds of farms in order to help them grow their business and expand their, improve their efficiencies and improve their bottom line. And there's so much that we've been doing. And so this contrast just couldn't be more stark. The other thing I want to tell you about Eric Hovde is he has this new economic plan that would reset all federal spending levels back to the last decade. And that plan would result in a 34% cut to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I don't even think he begins to know what that would mean.
I'll tell you what Eric Hovde is an expert in, though. Apparently tanning so he can try to get that Donald Trump kind of shade. I know he's there in California constantly on the beach, and that's where he's spending most of his time. But he's also spending a lot of his time talking about repealing the Affordable Care Act, which is literally a life or death thing for people in Wisconsin. We heard Donald Trump say, well, I have some concepts, but I think that we should revoke the thing that's quite literally keeping millions of people alive. But Eric Hovde's in that camp. He was asked about it, if he wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act. And here's what he said. Here, play the clip.
Fundamentally, there was numerous flaws in Obamacare. One of them was creating monopolies.
So would you want to repeal the Affordable Care Act?
Oh, 100%. I think we need to change the Affordable Care Act. There's pieces like pre-existing conditions that I would keep.
I mean, he's so out of touch with people, and just watching him, it just makes me angry because, here he is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He doesn't have to worry about these things, but people in the state, he has no perception that people are dying because of his plans.
Yeah, so my fire in the belly to run for public office in the first place was based on my own personal experience. I didn't have health insurance my entire youth because I had a pre-existing health condition. And back then, there was no obligation on the part of insurance companies to cover someone with a pre-existing or even an existing condition. So people with, battling cancer, with diabetes, asthma, went without health insurance, just as I did because I was a child with a pre-existing health condition. I helped write the Affordable Care Act when I was in the House of Representatives. And we told those health insurance companies, you can no longer discriminate based on a pre-existing condition. You must cover people. That's the whole idea behind insurance. And I want to brag, Ben, I wrote the provision that allows young people to stay on their parents' health insurance till they turn 26. And I know that there are millions of young Americans who have health insurance only because of that provision. And so what did my opponent say about that specific provision? He called it stupid and said kids need to grow up. This is who we're dealing with. And this is a life or death matter for so many.
Here's a video that you put out as well, that Eric Hovde, of course, is a major supporter of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. He believes that women should not make reproductive decisions for their own body. When he sits at the beach and he's sitting there with his hands behind his head and he's tanning right in front of his mansion, he wants to be the person to make that decision for women. He thinks he knows better. Here's the video you put out. Let's play.
I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of Roe v. Wade.
Do you think Roe versus Wade should be overturned?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Eric Hovde is going to vote for a national ban on abortion. I'm the champion of the Women's Health Protection Act, which would codify Roe versus Wade. I'm the lead Senate author on that. You couldn't have higher stakes in a race like this. You elect him, the Senate goes into Republican hands, they pass a national abortion ban. You reelect me, and we're fighting to restore those rights.
What's your response?
Well, it's a great ad. Anyways, seriously, look, I listen to people like Eric Hovde equivocate on this issue, but what I hear him say, is, it should be it's decided at the national level. The federal government should decide. Oh, no, the state government should decide. I say women should decide, full stop. And that's why I'm championing the Women's Health Protection Act, which would restore Roe as the law of the land. Eric Hovde's position, sort of celebrating the Dobbs decision, agreeing with the Dobbs decision, means that women's rights and freedoms depend upon their state and their zip code. And when I say zip code, let me give you Wisconsin as an example. We have on the books a law that was passed in the year 1849 that is widely viewed as a criminal abortion ban. For 15 months, there were no services anywhere in Wisconsin after the Dobbs decision. After that, a trial court in one county in Wisconsin said that 1849 statute was unconstitutional under our state constitution, and services were resumed in 3 counties. We have 72 counties, and that means depending on your county, depending on your zip code, there are there's no access. And so I just don't believe that my rights and freedoms, women's rights and freedoms, should depend on what state they live in or what zip code they live in. And we're going to work as hard as we can, as quickly as we can, to restore those rights and freedoms to everyone, no matter where they live in the United States of America.
So for Eric Hovde, this is like a trophy. This is a game. People's lives are a game to him. This is like a trophy for him. He lives in California. He comes into Wisconsin. He wants to take away your health care. He doesn't know what the farm bill is. He didn't even study. Think about the arrogance. You're going on a debate. You're going against someone who knows the farm bill very well. You would think, hey, let me take a look at some notes. He doesn't even care enough to even look at a cheat sheet and then pretend that he cares. And then he wants to take away women's reproductive rights. I mean, it's all of the above. So do we have the...
he also is in there fighting for multimillionaires like himself and big corporations. Look at the tax policies he supports. It's sort of like Trump tax cut 2.0. I'm fighting to lower costs and lower taxes for hardworking Wisconsin families. And when I think about my closing in this, hardworking Wisconsin families deserve somebody who's fighting for them, not somebody who's fighting for multimillionaires and big corporations. And that's what's at stake in this race.
Senator, where can people, first off, let me show this photo. I keep talking about the photo of him on the beach, so people know what I'm talking about. There he is. That's his office right there, right in front of his mega multi-million-dollar Laguna Beach mansion. Where can people go to find out more? How can people help in the closing days of your campaign?
Yeah, so first of all, please go to TammyBaldwin.com, both to learn more about my campaign and the issues, but also to give if you can help us close the spending gap in the final few days of this race. But also, if you have the ability to volunteer, there are ways to call Wisconsin voters, urge them to vote early, because early voting started in our state on Tuesday this week. And, if you want to come to Wisconsin, or if you're already in Wisconsin and watching this, sign up for canvassing your neighbors, talking to your neighbors. And don't forget your ability to just call up your friends, your family, offer them a ride to the polls. This will be about turnout. We're a battleground state, a 50-50 state, and that's the difference it's going to take in order for us to win.
All of my friends from Wisconsin are fun, compassionate, lovable people, but also deeply serious and care about the issues. Eric Hovde, deeply unserious, but even more than that, in my view, just very, very dangerous. I mean, putting people's lives at risk by his own words. I think we showed that here. Senator Tammy Baldwin, thank you for joining us. As always, we'll be following the race very closely.
Thank you so much.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers by the election. Thanks for watching.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram at MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.